Welcome. You know, we often think of ourselves as a self, me, okay? I have this identity and it's always there. Yet, that's one of the actual illusions about it, is that there is really no permanent self. What you're looking at as yourself is simply a construction that your brain, in the midst of the environment that it's adapting to, constructs a particular self that can survive in that world. And if it's successful, it quits adapting and locks in that particular construction. And by the time you know about it, when you start growing up and you start saying I and all stuff like that, it's already there. Okay? It's already there. Understand, though, is what they really are patterns. They're adaptive patterns that allowed the brain to organize you to be successful, or at least survive in a particular environment. They lock in. Okay? And then you grow up not having an idea that any of this ever happened, and you wonder what's going on here? Why do I get to a particular level and I hit this glass ceiling? And nothing I seem to do, it just keeps repeating itself. It's actually the adaptation the brain has made for us to live in a particular world that we associate with us. And then it becomes automatic. It establishes emotional patterns that start inventing our life. But understand, they're emotional patterns. They've been built by the emotional brain to ensure survival. And then you get locked into them, you hit that glass ceiling, and you go, I don't understand why. I've got the same stuff other people have. But somehow, right at the time of victory, I fall back. I sabotage myself. I'm not living in the world that I know is possible. And it all comes back to recognizing, first and foremost, there is no self. What there is a construction of a self. And some people would call that the false self, the adapted self, and so on. The key, though, is it's not who you are. It's just one potential that you can be that's locked in. Now, that's where emotional intelligence comes in. What you and I have just talked about is emotional intelligence. And the first thing is understanding that the emotion, it's not anything you think it probably is. It's not a feeling. It's not psychological. They are biological action potentials, and they are built to react in coordination with changes in the environment. It happens fast, If a saber-toothed tiger's running at you, you're probably going to have to run, fear, or you're going to have to fight, aggression. But what you're seeing is, these are all patterns. Mm-hmm. And the deal is once that emotion has triggered, the chemistry, what you feel, the fear and stuff like that, the feeling of fear, the feeling of anger, is actually, guess what? Chemistry. Yeah, that's what it is. So we're looking at it and go, as we develop our emotional intelligence, first of all, we recognize the first thing is, we're a particular organization of self that we have confused with me. So you get there and you go, okay, well, let me go and explore exactly how this me got shaped into being. Then you start finding out that we bring a lot of stuff from our evolutionary history about wanting to win, wanting not to lose, and needing to be in control over what happens. Yeah, all that stuff. That comes from our ancestry. But more than that, we grow up in families. We grow up in communities. We grow up in extended families. We grow up in cultures that have a number of expectations that we absorb, okay, without ever knowing it. And before you know it, we're going through here, we're going, there's something missing here. I don't understand what. But if I only had money, if I only had a really great spouse, if I only had this, only that, or that, I would finally be fine. No. What happens is your job as a human being is to go in and really examine your makeup, get to know yourself, what makes you tick. And in doing that, you discover there's all these automatic adaptations, now patterns, that are running my life. And what you need to be doing is saying, okay, how do I break this cycle? And it starts with emotion. Is that when you get in a situation like, for instance, if you are taking like speech classes and you have a fear of public speaking, what you're looking at though is it's showing you the old adaptation about fear. And it's also showing you I've done a good job of covering it up. But ultimately, if I want to master myself, if I want to be captain of my own destiny, I need to go back to the original fear that produces that fear of like being ashamed or really messing up in front of groups of people. Yeah, you need to get to that. Okay? That's what you need to get to in order to be able to master it, to dissolve it as a pattern, and then to start building consciously a new way of understanding how you as a self, as a construction of a self, engage all the challenges, all the uncertainties, all the strugglings of living. And out of that, as you learn to say, oh, I can reconstruct the self. Yeah, you can reconstruct how you respond to the challenges of living. Yes, you can. And in doing so, what you really are doing is you're just opening up more of the potential that exists within you as a human being. Because ultimately, that survival adaptation your brain did to you, it shrank your potential. So you become locked into a prison, okay? And you wouldn't even see the bars there. No, they're so familiar, they're so common and familiar that you would never see them. But they're there. You will know that every time you come up to a particular area, you fall down, you keep doing that over a period of years and years and years. And you've reached this place, and it may be that you've reached a really high, powerful place, but there's still the need to conquest. There's no peace, just being. And that's when you're going, what is driving that? Yeah. And in this work, what you can discover is not only do you find out what's driving that, but what happens is you learn the skills, the tools, to be able to transform that into a higher purpose, into a higher way of being in the world. And that, friends, is where the worlds of emotional intelligence and self-development come together and produce a powerful way of being in the world. My hope is that you explore this site really deeply and start learning more and more about, well, okay, I get it. I need to learn more intellectually about how I got deconstructed. Then start taking this step and start looking at going, what are the tools that is being offered here that if I learn, I can start a radically different construction of the self. Come and learn, friends. This is exciting times. Seize this day.